Whether you're rebuilding or win now, dominate future seasons with our 2025 Dynasty Rookie Draft Do-Over. That's right. We'll re-rank the top 32 players heading into the home stretch. All this and more. It's a brand new IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. Playoff spots are on the line for many managers playing in redrafts this week, but it's also time to look ahead over in the Dynasty streets. That'll be the focus of this particular episode as we complete a 2025 rookie draft redo. While we're at it, we'll also lock in our favorite Week 14 bets. I'm your host, Seth Wilcock, back from a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend spent with friends and family, and back on the program is the usual cast of characters, including a big business, light ranch and son of a gun, who has certainly done his fair share of domestic travel over the past calendar year. He's Eric Romoff. Tex, how are you doing tonight, and how are the holidays?
Holidays were good, as many of the IBT faithful like to remind me. I actually finally broke into some of the international travel over the Thanksgiving weekend, hopped aboard cruise ship and stopped at a few different ports of call in the Caribbean. Happy to be back in the friendly confines of Texas. Not happy to come back to a first place matchup in my league of record that I lost due to some whack bonuses in the scoring system.
Ooh.
If anyone out there is a commissioner or in a fantasy league, please start a riot, start a petition, start whatever you got to do to get bonus scoring out of your format, because it is completely unnecessary and lopsided. But I will save that rant for another day. Happy to be here. Week 14, here we come.
Absolutely. And I agree with you for the most part. I'm not a big bonus guy. I do we do a big play bonus in my league of record every year, which barely impacts anything. So that one I'm okay with. But for the most part, I'm there with you. Also joining us is a man who can usually be found somewhere within the streets of Beantown. He's our NFL and entertainment betting expert here at IBT. He's Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steven, how are you? And how are the fantasy leagues sitting in this do or die week?
Oh, man, I'm chilling. I've clinched the playoffs everywhere I wanted to clinch them. So I am rolling into week 14. Absolutely vibing. The vibes are incredibly high right now. I am feeling so good. I do have a question for you guys, though, because why is it Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's not the Caribbean, it's the Caribbean?
That's a good question, Eric.
Like,
you're a history
guy. Are we
guy.
pronouncing it wrong, or is it normally pronounced wrong? Like, what is going on? Eric's a history guy?
I didn't know I was a history guy. Apparently, I'm resident history guy here. I am not resident pronunciation guy, as I found out that it was Mariota over the course of the football game earlier this week.
Oh my God.
I'm not the authority on either front, unfortunately.
Eric, you're just you're the wise veteran of this show, so I just assumed you might be a history buff as well. But my apologies if that's not up your street. And hopefully though, you can help us with all the pronunciation needs here. Screen names, player names, Marcus Mariota, as we learned there on Sunday night, as you allude to as well. And on the controls behind the scenes is everyone's favorite Yinzer, Ginger, and former IUP Crimson Hockey's producer Kyle Scott. Jim, it's officially football weather out in your neck of the woods. How is the Berg navigating both the weather being back and the first snowstorm of the season touching down?
Yeah, it snowed overnight, and so we woke up to a nice winter wonderland in the Steel City, and roads were slushy. They were slippy out here. It was a bit of a mess out there in the mornings, but we all made it through it, and hopefully things get a little easier as the season goes on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel you very much, Kyle. Luckily, I work from home, so did not have to venture out of the driveway today. But the few Amazon Prime delivery folks who had to come to my driveway, I appreciate you. Thanks for doing your service out there. We appreciate you as always. And we also appreciate the fine folks of the In Between Media YouTube channel or the audio feed tuning in with us every single week. Thank you so much for all the support. Please do us a quick favor. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this type of content. Also, make sure you subscribe if you're new. And if you want more of us, consider joining the IBT football family. That is our premium community that gets you access to our full betting cards, the Discord chat, memorabilia giveaways, and entry into our touchdown contest. All this for just $3.99 per month or $36 for the entire calendar year. Also, you're going to get access in the NASCAR family. You're going to get the betting model for that. Plus, we have some more sports, a lot of more fun things happening in the community very, very soon for y'all. And checking in already, of course, our friend Albert saying good evening, IBT. Good evening, Albert. Great to see you. And of course, Ben, what's up, Ben? Great to see you as well, man. Hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday, and hope you're ready to get down into it here in the stretch of the season. It's a very fun time for a redraft, but really there wasn't too much advice to give out this week. I felt like for redraft because you kind of know who you're playing here in week 14. If you need start sit questions, ask them below in the live chat. We'll try to get to those, but we want to take a lap into the Dynasty waters here. So let's go ahead and do that in front and center and get to our Dynasty rookie draft for the 2025 redo. Let's get it.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between. How about you come to the place where you have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. You can come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
All right, it is front and center. We are getting into our 2025 Dynasty Rookie Draft, a do-over, and very excited to jump into this with you folks because this is one of those times where we have to look back, right? Where were we right? Where were we wrong? What can we learn from our past mistakes? So we went ahead and we re-ranked our top 24 of the 2025 Dynasty rookie class as if we were drafting today for Superflex non-tight end premium leagues. And we built out our consensus IBT ADP. We'll go ahead and break down the first two rounds with you, share then some honorable mentions as well. Again, this is just a look back and helping you where we can learn from our mistakes, maybe gauge where these player values are for the rest of the season and 2026 if you're making any deals or just trying to, get an accurate read of where these players stand after about 12 weeks, 3 months into the NFL season. So let's go ahead and jump into the consensus round one, folks. And I want to start with this top tier, at least what I'm labeling our top tier. It is Jaxson Dart of the New York Giants, now at the 101 position. He is up 5 spots from his early season ADP back in May, June, August, July. He now is an IBT ADP of 2.3. Tetairoa McMillan has also risen 1 spot. He is now at 102. Tet comes in with an IBT ADP of 2.3. And then we also have Ashton Jeanty still in this first tier. He's down 2 spots from his consensus 101 ADP from early in the season. He now has an IBT ADP of 3.5. So, gentlemen, I want to start at the top because Eric and Steve, you both have Jaxson Dart at the 101. My question for you, Eric, is why?
Yeah, I have been pretty consistent in unapologetically yielding to the format, and I think that a game-changing quarterback in a super flex format is a very, very valuable asset, especially one who's 22 years old, especially one who shows the ability to throw with anticipation and a fair amount of accuracy, but also the ability to take the top off with the deep ball and has the rushing upside that is really one of the few differentiators in terms of scoring upside at the quarterback position. So Certainly didn't go as early as he might have in the NFL draft if they knew exactly what he would be when he was out on the field. And I think if we could have a redo in the Dynasty streets, he should be the first off the board as well.
Okay, Steve, I totally get your and Eric's argument. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Dart as well, because I think I'm just a little skittish on New York Giants quarterbacks as a whole, and maybe I should reevaluate, because I have Dart coming in down at player 5 overall, just because I really like some of these position players.
That's tough, because it's super flex. I mean, just by nature of it being super flex, it's so much a higher value position at baseline, and you're getting Jaxson Dart, who's such a good runner and such an electric player, and we're seeing him put up these numbers that he's putting up this season really without his star guy. He never got to play with Malik Neighbors, not for 1 second this season, and he's playing with a bunch of guys who, for the most part, you'd struggle to see them as the wide receiver 3 on teams, and there they are having to run out there as his wide receiver 1. That team is riddled with injuries. The coach was fired midway through the year. It's been a mess, and we're still seeing Dart put up numbers. So if he gets competence in the front door, like the front office hopefully will hire, which, unlike the other New York team, the Giants actually have a pretty good track record outside of a hiccup here and there of hiring pretty good coaches. Even Dable, I don't think was a total swing and miss. It just kind of fell apart toward the end there. So I think Dart, he's 22 years old and seems to have everything you want in that high upside quarterback, where he's already a top 10 player at the position.
Okay. How do you guys feel about Ashton Jeanty? I still had him at 1 overall, but when you actually look at his pace for this season, I understand where some concerns could come in. Right now, he's on pace for 257 carries, 899 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, 77 targets, over 350 receiving yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. Eric, this was someone that I really thought would come in and he would push for 1,200 rushing yards. I thought he would also be in the mix for double-digit rushing touchdowns as well. It's one of my biggest wagers of the offseason. Doesn't look like we're going to get that in year 1, but are you still bullish that Jeanty can bounce back next year? New play caller, maybe a new quarterback in the future as well, and we're not sure on Pete Carroll's tenure status for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I was right there with you until you said bounce back next year. I'm generally still pretty bullish on Ashton Jeanty's prospects as an NFL contributor and fantasy athlete. He's my highest ranked running back among the 2025 class, even in this redo. But next year is going to be an open question, right? A lot of the argument for Ashton Jeanty was volume based. Obviously, he has a lot of explosive upside, but the ability to demonstrate that goes up with his ability to dominate volume. And to my point about your next year qualifier, next year he's probably looking at a different quarterback. Next year he's probably looking at a different head coach. All these things could work in his favor, but they also introduce variability. So I've got him a little bit lower than where we landed at in the IBT ADP rankings, but still far and away my number 1 running back from this year's class.
Steve, you're still okay with Jeanty as a top 3 player?
No, I have him as my number 4 player. I actually, unlike Eric, he is no longer my RB1 in this class. He has yielded that spot to someone who's right behind him on this list. I think, and it's not an indictment of his talent, it's an indictment of the situation. The Raiders are so far away from being anything good. They seem to make every wrong move they can make. Instead of going out and getting the 2, like our young offensive coordinator, offensive mind, they went for Pete Carroll. Instead of bulking up that offensive line, they went and got Geno Smith for some reason. Instead of drafting Jaxson Dart at 6, they drafted Ashton Jeanty. It was bad move after bad move after bad move after bad move. And it's like, at some point we have to look at the Raiders. And I saw an article that said this, that they're not really a football team. They're a business. There's no reason for them to go all in on winning, because that stadium was subsidized by Las Vegas to get the Raiders there. They have no skin in the game anymore. They're just cashing the checks. There's no culture to build. Vegas doesn't have a lot of people that live there, in that area, that can afford Raiders tickets. You know what I mean? It's kind of a mess. I'm not in on the Raiders at all. So that's why he fell to my RB2 spot behind TreVeyon Henderson.
Okay. Yeah, this is a guy I still love the talent. I still think he could be generational. I think we need to improve the offensive line. I think we need some more serious pass catchers out there as well that can limit some of the stacked boxes he is facing. So that is kind of my hope. And it also took him until, a quarter of the way through the season to actually start throwing this guy the ball as well. And so we're starting to kind of see some of those receiving numbers come in. But I'm still bullish on Ashton, Jeanty. Let's move to the next tier here, gentlemen, where we have TreVeyon Henderson. He starts it off. He is at number 4 for us. He is up one spot from his preseason ADP, 4.6 IBT ADP. Then we have my guy, Tyler Warren, of course, 5 overall. He's up 3 spots from his preseason ADP. He's at 5.3 ADP for us now. Emeka Egbuka, he's up 1 slot to 6. He has an IBT ADP of 6 flat. We have Cam Ward then coming in next. He is right now down 5 spots from the preseason ADP, 7 overall in the IBT ADP. And Eric, I have to ask you because you are still the high man on Cam Ward. Right now, Steve and I have him at 9 and 10. I think there's just overall concerns for me about the line, about the weapons. This guy is someone who's been sacked the most times this season. We don't know what the coaching staff is bringing and just really hasn't done that much, right? A 1.7 touchdown rate. I was also expecting him to run a lot more, just 28 rushing attempts, 123 yards and a touchdown. I was pretty high on Cam Ward. Am I maybe just going the other way and being, kind of a Debbie Downer just because I have him rostered everywhere, you think, Eric?
Possibly. I think that you are definitively too low on him, right? I've got Cam Ward as my number 2 player in this redraft. Again, giving deference to the format, right?
Sure.
But also, it has been an absolute dumpster fire for Tennessee this year. But there have been no shortage of plays that Cam Ward has shown me NFL level skill set repeatedly, right? If you look at some of the things that make Tennessee such a dumpster fire this year, a lot of that has to do with his supporting cast, number 29 in the league, according to our friends over at Player Profiler. So he's not getting very much help there, but he has the ability to dissect the defense. He has the patience to wait for his players to break out of their stem and their tree and create a bit of separation. He has the arm strength to fit the ball into these tight windows. It's just a lot of decision making, kind of speed of the game, things that tend to take a little bit more time to ramp up to. So obviously I would much prefer he comes in and immediately sets the world on fire. But if you kind of manage your expectations heading in, I think he's on the right path to being a successful NFL quarterback, right? I don't know if he's maybe got, top 5 upside if he doesn't, start running the ball a bit more, but I think he's the type of player that can contribute and kind of grow into somewhat of like a Dak Prescott type of profile, which if you got Dak Prescott in his rookie year and you've been able to ride him this long, you are very, very happy with your return on that asset. So really it's more, I think that there's been signs of promise from Cam Ward. And I think it's far too early to write the book on what his NFL career can be.
Okay, a little more on Tyler Warren as well. I have him at 3. Eric, you're down at 8 for him. Steve is at 5 right now. Tyler Warren on pace for 111 targets, 82 receptions, 3rd all-time for a rookie tight end, 969 receiving yards, 4th all-time for a rookie tight end, 7 total touchdowns. So that is why I believe Tyler Warren should be in the top 5. For me, he's in the top 3 just because I want an elite difference maker at that position for years and 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 years to come. And that's what I think we're getting with Tyler Warren. See, my question for you about this tier is I remain the high guy on Emeka Egbuka. I had him 4th overall. Eric is at 6. You're at 8. You have running backs like Hampton and Judkins. What is it about Egbuka that kind of scares you off him to put him inside your top 5?
So it goes back to a lot of what my concerns were about him in college, right? And we saw when Godwin came back, his role has reduced, his output has reduced. Yes, he set the world on fire, and I looked like the biggest moron on the planet. I had egg all over my face for the first 5 weeks of the season. But then, as it tends to do, I was right.
You were not right.
He came back down to earth, and a lot of those 50-50 balls that were suddenly 90-10 balls for him, they were slipping through people's hands and landing in his, and all this stuff that could go, everything that could go right went right. And then Egbuka came back down to earth. And I think that's what's happening. I think he is a solid wide receiver. I have never said he wouldn't be a solid wide receiver. What I've always said is that Emeka Egbuka is not an elite wide receiver. He doesn't have that elite upside. He doesn't have that wide receiver 1 upside. He's not that guy. And I just don't think he's that guy, because when the guy comes back, Egbuka falls off. When it's time for him to carry the team, he couldn't do it. Like, he needs all the distraction. He needs people to take the pressure off of him. And that's fine. He's a great wide receiver 2 in the NFL. He'll never be, I don't think he'll ever be the wide receiver 1 for a team where you're like, yes, that's our guy. Like, that's the dude that we want to feed 120, 130, 140 targets to. I just don't think he's that guy.
I think he is. Because right now he already has over 100 targets on the season, a 26% target share. That's 15th in the NFL.
I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm saying you don't want it to happen. That's not good. Like, when that starts happening and it's an Emeka Egbuka doing that, it's kind of similar to like if suddenly Christian Watson got those numbers. Like, it can happen.
I think the similarity in that circumstance to draw is to his former teammate, or at least alumnus, Chris Olave, right? Like, there are plenty of warts in his game, and at least some of the open questions that you want to underscore for Egbuka were present with Olave, and he is the number 1 receiver on an offense that could certainly use additional receiver help. But when that outcome,
like, again, and I know I said this and everyone kind of like flamed me for it, at least Chris Olave was the best player on his team at one point. Like, in that wide receiver room, he was the best.
I don't think he was. I think Garrett Wilson and JSN. If you look at JSN's, I think that was sophomore year, he actually outproduced Chris Olave. So I would disagree with that. I
also think we're splitting hairs. Putting that much weight into college production, but
right.
B, specifically in this Ohio State wide receiver room, like,
it's the most loaded program, and
10 receivers would be the best guy on any other team in the country.
I mean, look at what's listen, if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong and I'll own it. You guys know I'm happy to, but as of right now, I haven't been proven wrong, where he has been the guy, right? Like, there hasn't been any Tez Johnson is his biggest competition for the last 6 weeks, and he hasn't produced. He just hasn't, and it's fine. He's just a wide receiver 2, and there's a lot of good, like Jordan Addison, right? Jordan Addison's a great wide receiver 2. But if he's your wide receiver 1, do you feel great? Probably not.
I'll say this right now. I'm someone who I strongly think that targets are not just, sometimes it's just opportunity, but I think sometimes it is you are earning targets. Right now, Emeka Egbuka.
You think if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are on that field all year, that he's drawing 26% target share still?
No, but I think his efficiency is better. Of course
it is, because he's facing the 5th best cornerback on the team.
Well, exactly. He's playing the best cornerback on the team, but right now, still with playing the best cornerback on the team, 6 in deep targets. Right now, 12 red zone targets. That's 9th best. And also first read targets right now. He has 66 of them. That's 16th in the NFL. So I think part of the letdown for him over the last couple months has been, hey, Baker Mayfield's not fully healthy, and I think that's part of it. So I'm still bullish on Emeka Egbuka. I don't want to take up our entire time with it. So I think it's still, jury's out, I guess, to see where we are. Steve, I think you're way too low on him, though. I think he has proven. I said coming in the process, he was the most pro-ready receiver in this class. I think I stand by that. He was my wide receiver 2. He remains my wide receiver 2 of this class. And Fenny Whopper checking in saying, unfortunately, I played Dynasty, so all my questions are Dynasty related. We'll take your Dynasty questions as well, Fetty Whopper. Anything you got that we can help you out, we'll definitely do that. And let's go ahead, gentlemen, as well. I do want to jump into our next tier of players where things get interesting. Things get mighty, mighty interesting. At number 8, we have Omarion Hampton. Right now, down 4 spots from his preseason ADP, a 7.7 IBT ADP. We also have Quinshon Judkins coming in at 9. He's up 4 spots in the preseason ADP for the Cleveland Browns, IBT ADP of 8 flat. And then almost another little bit of a tier break there in Cam Skattebo, 13.3 IBT ADP, but comes in at 10th overall, up 7 spots from his preseason ADP. So I want to ask you guys, we all have these running backs a little bit differently. I personally have Hampton and Skattebo above Quinshon Judkins right now, purely because of the fact that Judkins is essentially a 0 in the passing game. He plays for the Cleveland Browns. Don't trust their organization. Already faced potential legal trouble. So right now, I want to ask you, Steve, why do you have Quinshon Judkins over these two dynamic pass catchers?
Because he's proven that he can handle an NFL workload and produce with it. And that at the end of the day is the most important thing to me. The burning question that I know you want to get to, and we'll hash it out right now. It's fine. We're all friends here. Is why do I have Cam Skattebo ranked 21st? And y'all got him in a first round, right? Like that's the burning question. It's because he was slow coming into the league and then busted his ankle.
He was slow coming in the league. He had one bad game that he sat behind Tyrone Tracy. He was pretty much the starter by week 2. How's that slow?
He's slow. Like he's not fast.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, he's slow. Like he's not a fast person. And now he's going to be slower. He wasn't explosive, and now he's going to be less explosive. He's not agile, and now he's going to be less agile. So Cam Skattebo was really fun to watch because he played so violently. But he's going to run himself out of the league. Quinshon Judkins, I think last game he got more involved in the passing game. And when he does get involved, he does produce with it. He's pretty good. And even if he doesn't, I reminisce fondly of a running back that captured all our hearts in Cleveland named Nick Chubb before the corpse of him went to Houston. And he was not involved in the passing game hardly at all. And my goodness, what a talent. And Quinshon Judkins is an amazing runner of the football. I think he's a really violent runner, but he runs with patience. They clearly want to get him involved in the goal line. He knows how to score touchdowns. And at the end of the day, that's what matters in the NFL. He will get a better offensive line and eventually a better quarterback in offense.
Okay. Well, I want to smoke whatever you're having. I'll tell you that right now, because Cam Skattebo, he had one of the worst stacked front carry rates in the NFL. 31st worst. Yards created per touch, though, 8th. So you can say this guy's not explosive. He might not be the most agile, but at the same time, I also want receiving production, because I've been down this road where Derrick Henry can burn you sometimes, and that's kind of the fact that, or the track that I think Quinshon Judkins is on, but to a lesser extent, right? Kind of that Jaxson type mold for the Eagles back in the day, the Dolphins prior to that. But right now, Cam Skattebo was on pace before he got hurt for over 51 receptions, nearly 450 receiving yards. He had 7 touchdowns in 8 games. So if anyone has a nose for the end zone, it's him. I'm on Cam Skattebo. I still have Omarion one spot ahead of him, but him and Omarion are back-to-back for me. Eric, where do you come down on this running back trio?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit closer to you in rankings, but I'm closer to Steve in sentiment. For me, the point of demarcation is pretty straightforward. I've got Quinshon Judkins ahead of these 3 in this list of 3. We'll leapfrog over Tyler Warren in my 8th spot. And then I have Omarion Hampton at 9 and Cam Skattebo at 11. For me, this kind of clustering at that 9 to 12 range has a lot to do with injury, right? Sure. Especially at the running back position, we're talking about players that have the shortest runway in all of Dynasty asset evaluation. And we now have guys that looked pretty good when they had the ball in their hands, but have suffered catastrophic injuries and are going to be recovering from that injury. They are going to potentially have that impact their ability on the field, but also their runway is shortened. So I think the concern about Quinshon Judkins and his thus far lack of involvement in the passing game is the biggest wart that he has out there. But it's not like he was a nothing in that regard in college, right? He still caught plenty of passes through his 3-year college career, averaged nearly 9 yards per reception over the course of those 3 years. So he could develop into it, but if nothing else, he's shown that he can take an NFL workload and stay healthy, and that is an open question for the other 2 guys on this tier.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to the last 2 players in the first round. First, it's Jayden Higgins of the Houston Texans. He's up 6 spots from his preseason ADP, a 13.3 IBT ADP, so tied with Skattebo. I gave Skattebo the tiebreaker because he was ranked the highest among anyone's rankings. And then RJ Harvey also tied with him at a 13.3 IBT ADP, up 2 spots from his preseason ADP. My question for you guys, we don't really have to get into Higgins because I think we all like him as someone who's starting to emerge in this Texans passing game now. They're starting to use him. My question for you, Eric, would be, is there a chance that Harvey never gets past this third down back type of, change of pace role where he's really been pigeonholed into that right now, averaging just 3.8 yards per carry on only 74 carries. Has seen more of a workload since J.K. Dobbins has went down, but never over 15 carries in a game so far.
Yes, not only is there a chance, there is an outright likelihood because RJ Harvey's head coach, at least for the foreseeable future, is going to be Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And he likes to do wacky stuff with his touch distribution. I got flamed on those Twitter streets for the day that J.K. Dobbins getting put on IR. I was immediately banging the drum. This is the sell high window of a lifetime on RJ Harvey. A lot of that was received as a redraft take, which I think was still applicable, but it was much more of a dynasty take, right? He's going to be married up with Sean Payton for the foreseeable future. This team is winning games. I don't see why they would go away from him over the course of the next few seasons. But also, the biggest red flag, RJ Harvey's going to be 25 years old before this season is over. Like, that is the point where I am trying to get out on my running backs in a dynasty and from the dynasty perspective. So if someone out there believes that they can go get RJ Harvey and get 2, 3, 5 years of production out of him, you need to go sell RJ Harvey to that manager right now.
Steve, any thoughts on Harvey that we didn't cover?
No, Eric really hit the nail on the head because we saw Peyton do this to Alvin Kamara, and frankly, RJ Harvey is not Alvin Kamara. So, that's same sentiment.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get into the second round, folks, where we have quite the cast of players coming in. And at 13 overall, it is Oronde Gadsden, the second tight end for the Chargers, with a 13.7 IBT ADP. So all of us pretty high on him, up 39 spots, one of the biggest risers we've seen. Travis Hunter comes in next. He is down 2 spots from his preseason ADP right now, 14.7 IBT ADP. Woody Marks next, also up 28 spots from his preseason ADP. We have him at a 15.6 ADP. Matthew Golden down 6 spots for the Green Bay Packers, 16.0 IBT ADP. And then also our guy Colston Loveland comes in next, tight end for the Chicago Bears, down 7 spots. He was a first-round pick at one point in Dynasty Rookie Draft, 16.7 IBT ADP. And then Luther Burn, the third of the I have him as a tight end there. It is definitely supposed to be a wide receiver for the Chicago Bears, 16.7 IBT ADP, down 6 spots. So I want to first start with the other elephant in the room we have, and it starts with Travis Hunter because Eric and I both have him inside our top 10. Steve, you don't even have him ranked. So what gives on that? Because last time we saw Travis Hunter on a professional football field, and let's keep in mind, this was all the way over across the seas as well. His last game, 14 targets, 8 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown, played a career high 87% of snaps. They really started phasing him out of the defensive personnel. So, and that was just the 7th game into his career. So, Steve, why are you so out on Travis Hunter?
Because there's a fear of mine that they will look. He was phased out of the defense because the offense needed receivers. They were hurt. They needed depth. Travis Hunter profiles much better as a cornerback. He's just a better defensive back than he is a wide receiver. It's not an indictment of his talent. I just don't believe he's going to be able to do both ways. Frankly, it's proving to be true again with injuries.
That was a freak non-contact injury, though, man. You can't put a ton into that.
Yeah, you can, because a lot of times non-contact injuries are wear and tear injuries. And like everyone said, hey, he's not going to be able to hold up playing both ways. You can't put that much stress on your body. And everyone was like, no, shut up. Yes, he can, because he did it in college. Different game, different level of physicality. And I don't trust him. I don't trust that he's going to stay a wide receiver. I think he profiles better and will grade out better as a defensive back where the Jaguars can use him more. And I think that's just what's going to happen. And I don't want to be caught holding this defensive player on my team that I burned a first-round pick on. And I didn't want to when he was, I wouldn't draft him no matter what. I was a no matter what kind of guy, but like the opposite of draft day, like anyone but Travis Hunter, no matter what. And I haven't moved off of that because I've watched him play. He profiles better as a defensive back.
You're telling me right now, if someone came to you in any dynasty league and said, I will give you Travis Hunter for your Caleb Johnson, who also has done nothing this year, you're telling me you want to take that?
I'm pretty out on Caleb Johnson. but like,
okay, you don't have Caleb. Let's go to someone who you had in your top 20. Elic Ayomanor, you had him 23 overall.
Anyone in my top 24, yes, I will take over Travis Hunter. I already did.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to be starting a dynasty league soon because I would love to have Travis Hunter in that league. Eric, any thoughts for Travis Hunter for you on why you have him inside your top 10? I do see the risk with Steve, and I am with Steve that I wasn't drafting him a lot of places. I kind of started to get turned on to him as the year went along because I did see him developing his route running. I did see him getting on the field more. I did see him not only playing from the slot, but also starting to play in 2 wide receiver sets. Yes, it were when some injuries came and struck down on the Jaguars, but at the same time, I really saw him progress quickly in just 7 games into his career.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't move much for me in these rankings relative to where we were to start the season. The reasoning why is different, though. Starting the season, open question as to how much offense he would play. I think as the year went on, we saw that they were going to lean towards him as an offensive player relative to a defensive player. I agree with Steve that he's probably a more skilled defensive player, but they have an offensive-minded head coach, right? Like, I don't think they're going to be sending Liam Cohen out the door by anytime soon. But also, as the year has gone on, more and more questions mount about what Brian Thomas Jr. really is at the NFL level. If year 1 was a fluke, or if year 2 is more representative of what we can expect from him. So there's some opportunity in front of Travis Hunter, but this is the riskiest pick for me. I have him here because I think there's a legitimate tier break, right? There's no other wide receiver from this year's class that has as much upside as Travis Hunter does, but he brings some downside with it. So that's exactly the type of player I'm typically drafting as we head into the second round.
Okay, last question for you, Eric, on this tier as well. Steve currently has Luther Burden, the third of the Chicago Bears, in at 17 overall. I have him down at 21. You have him top 12. What's your feelings on Luther Burden and why you're so sky high on him?
It feels weird. He was a prospect that I was very bearish on heading into the NFL draft season, and then he turns around and falls into a tailor-made circumstance to take full advantage of his skill set. Right, he's got a mad scientist in Ben Johnson calling plays, a player who can put a coordinator and a play caller who can put him in a position to take full advantage of his skill set. But we're also seeing him emerge week over week, seeing more and more snaps, seeing greater and greater route participation, and seeing him do more and more when the ball goes into his hands. So, for me, he's just a hair behind Travis Hunter in terms of being in that next tier of wide receiver. But from a dynasty standpoint, we're talking about a 3 to 5 year perspective for wide receivers, right? There is going to be many a seasons where DJ Moore is not out there, right? There are going to be many a seasons where he will immediately step into that flanker starting position in what projects to be one of the more dynamic offenses in the NFL for the next few years, right? So these are all things that I'm looking for in a longer term asset, and the early returns, while it's a relatively small sample size, show a lot of promise for what Luther Burden can be at the NFL level.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go ahead and move to the final tier. We have tier 6, and it starts with Harold Fannin Jr. of the Cleveland Browns, tight end, coming in at 19 overall. He's up 9 spots from his preseason ADP, a 17.3 IBT ADP. And then it is 2 running backs, Bhayshul 2 and 18.7 IBT ADP. He's up 1 spot from his preseason mark. Kyle Monangai, another huge riser of 27 spots. He was a guy we were getting in the 4th round, sometimes undrafted in rookie drafts for the Bears, 19.7 IBT ADP. Trey Harris has done diddly squat in his rookie year, but still a very, very talented prospect from Ole Miss down there in the Lane Kiffin system, down 7 spots from his preseason mark. And we also then have Elic Ayomanor, a fan favorite, I think, of the entire program, specifically myself as well. He's down 4 spots from his preseason ADP to 23.3 in our IBT ADP. And then Caleb Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 3rd round rookie running back out of Iowa, has severely disappointed. Now we have Kenneth Gainwell, who is looking like a real piece to this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Right now, he's 2nd on the team in receiving. So it's getting very crowded there for Caleb Johnson. Jaylen Warren, of course, re-signed earlier this year as well. So I want to go to both of you. Steve, we'll start with you. One player out of this bottom tier. Who's your favorite?
My favorite is Fannin. I have him ranked 14th. I believe I was the high man on Harold Fannin of the three of us. I just watched the production on the field, the game tape. Like it shows a guy who knows how to get open, knows how to, do something after the catch. He was electric in college. He caught so many passes. He was always open, and that is translating. Like, he's competing with David Njoku this season. Wouldn't be shocked if Njoku is on the move.
Free agent after this year, Njoku is.
So, yeah. So it's going to open up. And I think he's a better choice than Loveland. I have him as the tight end 3 right now in this class because I'm super high on Gadsden. But I think he's just really, I really have always liked Fannin. I was high on him when he came out of the draft.
Yeah.
And like, while this landing spot wasn't excited for this season, I was excited for it, like, kind of long term. So I kind of was always a bit higher on Fannin overall.
And honestly, what he's done this season has been remarkable given the circumstances. He leads the Browns currently in receptions with 51, receiving yards 505, 3 touchdown catches as well, which leads the team. So I think like those are really good numbers for a rookie tight end, especially one that came out of the MAC, right? And there's so many people on the internet who wanted to bury this guy for coming out of Bowling Green. And he's doing the exact same thing in the exact same state. He's comfortable there along the shores of Lake Erie, not far from his hometown down there in Canton. So love Harold Fannin Jr. Love what he's been doing. As you mentioned, David Njoku going to be a free agent after this year. Also, the Browns should eventually get an improvement at the quarterback position, right? I don't know if they'll go out and be able to get themselves like a Fernando Mendoza or a Dante Moore, Ty Simpson, someone in that vein. But I think there's still an upgrade coming eventually. And even if it's just Shedeur Sanders with another year under his belt, I do like Harold Fannin Jr. quite a bit. Eric, your favorite player in our 6th and final tier?
I mean, I guess technically speaking, it is also Harold Fannin for me. I won't belabor the point beyond saying that an upgrade at quarterback might help the Browns, but it might not help Harold Fannin. He and Shedeur Sanders are in lockstep. It has been fun to see him produce at the rate that he has with Shedeur Sanders under center. So wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if it's another season of Sanders for the Browns for the season to come. I guess the player that I'll double click on is Kyle Monangai, a player that Steve flamed me for even mentioning his name as I was pointing down the arrow on DeAndre Swift's stock heading into the season. Swift has obviously put up a phenomenal year all told. But, if we think about the Dynasty prospectus, DeAndre Swift is about to be 27 years old. He's got a contract that the Bears can very easily get out from under next season. He has Ben Johnson, who happily sent him out of town previously when they were playing together a few years back in Detroit. So I think more than anything, this has really been, kind of an open rehearsal for Kyle Monangai to have an expanded role as soon as next year. And he has answered the call, right? If you look at him, his opportunity and his usage isn't exactly where you want from a volume standpoint, but averaging almost 5.5 yards per touch, right? Yards per carry, closer to 4.5. We haven't seen him do a ton as a receiver, but they do like him when he is down there in goal line and scoring position. And based on how the Bears have allocated their money over the course of the last few off seasons, he should be running behind one of the better run blocking lines in the NFL for the next couple of seasons. So love to get a guy that should have opportunity open up in front of him and has a very potent and supportive cast around him for a few years to come.
My only issue with him, Eric, is like it feels like with how much smoke was coming out of Chicago this past year for Ashton Jeanty that maybe they go out and make a play for a running back, maybe in free agency. We know someone like Travis Etienne could be floating around, but also like through the draft. I mean, while this isn't quite the draft class for running backs it was this past year, I mean, Jeremiah Love, whoever gets him, is going to be absolutely content at the running back position to feed that guy. He's looking like potential Heisman dark horse. Jonah Coleman out of Washington's been stellar. Justice Haynes from Michigan, he was looking really good before he got banged up as well. So I think Haynes could be another guy who takes some work off someone. And maybe one of these Penn State guys, right? Katron Allen with the sensational season. Nick Singleton definitely regressing, but it's still a very interesting running back class. So I do worry maybe Monangai could fade a little bit if that is the case. For me, my favorite player in this tier, outside of Harold Fannin Jr., it is Bhayshul Tuten. He's the one I want because I think he could actually have a lead back role if the Jaguars let Etienne walk. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option. So, and they also have limited draft capital. Like, they cannot go out and spend draft capital on a running back because of the move they made for Travis Hunter, also Tim Patrick, and then Jacoby Myers. Like, they don't have picks to mess around with at the RB position. So, Tuten right now, 8th in juke rate, 23rd in yards created per touch, 19th in expected points added. So, I feel like the arrow is only pointing up for Tuten. He's a guy I would go out and buy low right now in all of my dynasty leagues. Gentlemen, let's go ahead, though. Let's round it out here with our honorable mentions. And there's a couple that I would like to point out here. First, Mason Taylor, Torrey Horton. They had the same IBT ADP as Caleb Johnson for us. Again, I am the executive play caller here, so I put Caleb Johnson, my Pittsburgh Steeler, in the rankings. I did not put Mason Taylor or Torrey Horton. You both had him in your rankings. Steve also had Shedeur Sanders ranked inside his top 24 as well. Other players that I kind of thought should be ranked for me that I at least considered. Tyler Shuck is looking decent with the Saints. Chimere Dike for the Titans. Devin Neal getting a little bit of run with the Saints late. And then Pat Bryant as well coming on late with the Broncos. My question for you boys is, has the hope been lost for Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt? Because if we were doing this after week 4 or 5, JCM maybe could have pushed top 15 upside. He saw a season high 66% of snaps in week 6. He saw just 14% snaps in week 13. And this is with the only competition being Chris Rodriguez Jr. and Jerry McNichols being the primary guys there. So, boys, I hate to say it. Steve, is Bill toast? I think you might be.
Yeah, he stinks. Like, that's the truth. He stinks. I don't know what else to say. They don't trust him. I don't trust him. You can't lose work to Jeremy McNichols and have me be like, yeah, I'm going to draft you. No.
Yeah. Eric, do you have any more hope for Bill?
No, I do not. It would be one thing if he was, losing work to good or even above average NFL talent, but he's not. And much like with RJ Harvey, he's knocking on the door of 25 years old, right? And you just don't have a lot of guys that are longer in the tooth at this position that have enough runway to, kind of mill about the league and find their opportunity and wait for it to open up. So, he could still contribute in like a, replacement level way for a few years, but I think your hopes of him being a valuable dynasty asset are all but gone at this point.
Yeah, it was one of those things before the preseason. I talked about it a lot on the IBT podcast. I talked about it on the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football podcast that there was a window with all the Bill hype, all the memes, all the love that you could sell high. And a lot of us wanted to go for that ride, right? I went for that ride for about 4 or 5 weeks, and I actually sold him very high in one of my home dynasty leagues. I traded him and Rashee Rice. I got 2 first-round picks back. So I guess I want to be really high because Rashee Rice might be worth 2 first-round picks the way he's playing. So
I'll take the right side.
Yeah. So, but I still think like Bill was someone who kind of moved the needle in that deal. But regardless, I'm with you guys. I think as fun as the theme song was, Bill. I think it's time. So, gentlemen, love everything you guys came in with for the Dynasty Rookie Redraft. Any final thoughts as we head into 2026? My biggest thing is just keep your head on a swivel, be flexible because these things can change, specifically with not only free agency coming up, but the NFL draft process. We're going to cover everything from starting at the Senior Bowl over into the landing spots of the NFL draft. So just keep your head on a swivel and be willing to be flexible because a lot of these values can change very quickly, boys.
I would just like to caution everyone. Tyler Shuck is not looking good at all. He stinks too. So he'll be replaced.
I'll talk about Tyler Shuck later. I'll talk about Tyler Shuck later in the program. Don't you worry. I got a little Tyler Shuck.
He's looking better than I expected, but he still has a next to 0% chance of holding that job more than the next couple of games.
The biggest flaw with Tyler Shuck is just how long it took him to beat out Spencer Rattler for me, right? Because I actually think Shuck is kind of nice. But yeah,
I mean, he's a tank commander. He was drafted to be replaced.
Yeah,
that's a real waste of a second round.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, though.
Wait, the Saints wasting early draft picks? No.
Yeah.
Not them. No.
Not Mickey Loomis, the guy who chops gum in press conferences like he's freaking Pete Carroll out on the field. My goodness. Yeah, that was terrible. Let's go ahead, though, guys. We're going to turn the page into our NFL betting cards for Week 14 with Between Bets. Let's fire it up.
Between bets. Between bets.
It's Between Bets. It's our NFL Week 14 betting cards, and we're going to fire it up here. And I want to first start and look back at what Week 13 did for us, boys, because I'll be honest, I was starting off pretty high, right? I felt pretty good. I cashed a heavy CMC anytime touchdown ticket, minus 130, 3.5 units down on that early on the Sunday 1 o'clock window. So vibes were high. Got the Chig Okonkwo over receiving yards back to the window again. Third time this season that Chig's cash for us. Was just a yard short on the Gunnar Helm ticket, though. And then also had the wrong Jets wide receiver. Thought it was going to be a Mechie game. Turned out to be an A.D. Mitchell game. And then myself also, whether it's me or the refs, did not get the Broncos 6.5. I love that number going into the weekend. And I thought multiple times there in overtime when they scored first, like, oh, we're going to get this. We're going to get this. And fourth down flags kept dragging out that game. So I did not go for it. Eric, I know you were out of the betting streets last week as well with traveling. Steve, did you have any wagers? I think you had some late Sunday ones you had fired up.
I did. I also had an early one that I was really excited about. I landed, I think it was 2 units on the Texans straight up over the Colts. And that obviously hit. I was really excited about that when I could get them as underdogs. So that was my big bet that hit. I rode with you on the Broncos plus 6.5, and I was feeling real good when that fourth down wasn't converted.
Same. And I was already counting my bankroll for the weekend.
I was already counting my money. Hufunga, thank you so much for that pass interference. Big fan of that. But yeah, no, I put a parlay in. It just missed, but it was close.
Okay. All right, well, guys, let's go ahead and fire it up here. And we're starting with a little bit of a squad ride in the ATS market where both of you are on a bet that I looked long and hard on. So maybe we can make this a 3-for-3 squad ride. This is one I thought about greatly. I didn't end up getting invested, but Eric, the Chicago Bears catching a lot of points for being a team currently controlling their destiny in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean that is the overarching thesis here, right? We've got the Chicago Bears facing off against the Green Bay Packers, getting 6.5 points, your number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Yeah. I don't know if there's been another point in the history of the NFL where number 1 overall seed is getting nearly a touchdown against any other team, but we are here now. Look, I think that this could be very much so a close game. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if we see the Bears lose this game, but I don't think they're going to lose by nearly a touchdown, right? If you go back and look over really the majority of their games, sans one against the Ravens team all the way back in October, these are essentially field goal games, many of them breaking in the favor of the Bears. The ones that they're losing, they're just narrowly apart from. So I think we're really finding a Bears team seeing a Bears team that's found its identity as a ball control offense that doesn't make a lot of mistakes, that has the weapons to make big plays if needed, and they'll come up in clutch time, whether it's by way of taking advantage of their very skilled athletic offensive weapons or by scheming up something a little wicked at the hands of Ben Johnson. So I think this will be a close one. I'm happy to take the points in this NFC North matchup.
Taron Johnson, Kyler Gordon, their two top cornerbacks who have been gone most of the season, will be likely active for this one as well, which I think just gives them even more potential upside. Steve, I actually even thought about sprinkling on that plus 275 money line because it felt so tempting. However, we do have Matt LaFleur, and what scared me off is Matt LaFleur's record in November is insane. He's not great at covering the number, but he's really good outright at least. So did that worry you at all when you decided to get invested with Eric on the squad ride?
No, it didn't. I don't really look at things like that. Like that starts to get way too like the stars aligning for me. But I just look at the teams, right? I think on paper, the Packers are the better defense, and on the offensive side, the Bears are the better team, right? So you're looking at two strengths coming together. Where it comes down to is who's stronger where, right? So the Packers offense is significantly better than the Bears defense right now. So I think the Packers will win this game, but I don't think it's going to be by a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Ben Johnson has this team playing kind of with their hair on fire. And it's a different Bears team. This team is not bad. So to get 6.5, that's like saying they're a bad team when in reality they're 8-3, 9-3, something like that. So yeah, this is a great line.
Okay, and Steve, you're going back to the well on Eric's Houston Texans here. This time against the Kansas City Chiefs. Can they snuff the torch and put the Chiefs out of their misery?
Yeah, they can. Like this defense is so good, where the Chiefs are struggling offensively, that this really should be a almost even money line. Like this should be even. This plus 3.5. This is not going to be a high scoring game. These are two really good defensive teams. 3.5 is a lot of points in one of these games, especially where it's going to be like kind of trading field goals, I feel like. And if I'm going to count on one offense to kind of be a little more explosive than the other, I think Houston might have that a little bit better right now than the Kansas City Chiefs, because that offense is coming together. CJ Stroud looks like he's finding his groove. They were able to take down the Colts, and the Colts looked like world beaters. They looked a lot better than the Chiefs. That defense is so good that I can count on them to pull this off. I was considering giving them the money line.
Okay. All right. And Eric, let's go ahead to the money lines where you have not one, but two plays on the upset special. What do you have for us, my friend?
Yeah, I guess technically we'll make it 3. I've got a third against the spread with the Cardinals getting 8.5 points versus the Rams. The Cardinals, when they lose, it's basically by a field goal. The Rams have shown that they can be had by inferior teams. So like getting the points with the Cardinals, who are technically an underdog, but over in the money line markets, those two underdogs that I'm looking at, the Dallas Cowboys facing off against the Detroit Lions this Thursday night. Plus 142 on the money line, one of the hottest teams in all of the NFL. And for as much as we want to dunk on Jerry Jones and make fun of him for trading away Micah Parsons and seemingly sabotaging his own season, the moves they made at the trade deadline have legitimately changed the prospects for this team. And specifically, those moves are going to match up against a mash unit of an offensive line for the Detroit Lions an offense that will likely be without Amon-Ra St. Brown on the short turnaround week following that injury. And Jared Goff has a long history of turning back into a pumpkin when he is facing pressure. So we know that the Cowboys offense is one of the most electric in all of the NFL. And I think that this push that they'll get on the defensive front will get Jared Goff off of his pedestal and get him scrambling, making mistakes, throwing off target, all of the the old warts of Jared Goff that got him shipped out of Los Angeles will very likely present themselves against this tough Cowboys front. Sticking with another underdog in the NFC East, the Washington Commanders, plus 118 versus the Minnesota Vikings.
Don't hate that.
Maybe it's Brosmer. Maybe it's Brosmer with Black, JJ McCarthy, whatever it
9?
might be.
You're talking about 9?
Yeah, 9 out here. This quarterback position is an absolute nightmare for the Minnesota Vikings. And moreover, the Washington Commanders, there's a non-zero chance that Jayden Daniels is back out there. So much so that this is a pick that Steve is squad riding with me on. And when he got into the sheet just a few hours after I did, the price had already moved. They were plus 110, right? So, I think the market is shifting this way. And, Daniels practiced 3 times last week. I don't think he can be ruled out definitively. So there could be a point where they shift to become a heavy favorite if we get some good news on the quarterback front.
Steve, is this more a backing of the commies or more just a fade of the Vikings, who I thought were going to be really competitive in this NFC North? They've been anything but over the last 2 months.
Yeah, it's a fade of the Vikings. And, JJ McCarthy, the only thing he seems to have studied in his year off with injury is the Russell Wilson school of being totally cringy, because he stinks. He is just bad. He is a bad quarterback at the NFL level. As a matter of fact, in terms of EPA, I believe he is the worst quarterback of all time since it's been tracked, except for Jamarcus Russell. So it's not awesome how bad he's been. Plus, getting Jayden Daniels back, that makes this Commanders team significantly better. This defense isn't bad. They were able to battle with the Broncos. There's nothing I'm looking at with JJ McCarthy or this Vikings team that has me optimistic. He's rendered Justin Jefferson pedestrian. He's totally neutered the best wide receiver in the league.
Yeah.
Like, what he's doing should be illegal. That's a war crime in
better than Brosmer. Better than Brosmer. I'll tell you that.
You sure about that?
Yes,
barely.
Yes,
barely.
Brosmer was horrific. That was terrible.
I will say this: if you took Will Levis and stuck him in this offense, it's a better offense with Will Levis than JJ McCarthy.
Can you say definitively that JJ McCarthy is not Will Levis wearing eye black?
I'm still willing.
Has anybody seen them both in the same place?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't insult Will Levis. Like
but I heard JJ McCarthy does not like mayo, actually, though. So no mayo on the sandwich, though. So
a likely alibi.
That's another reason to not like him. And you can't. All right, can we talk about this too? You can't give yourself a nickname. That's that's lame. That is so. Oh my God! If he said that and he was my teammate, I'd be like, "You are such a loser."
What if someone's given him that name in the past, though? What if someone gave him that nickname at Michigan?
No, he gave himself it. I don't care. So then let the teammate say it.
I'm still on the JJ McCarthy bandwagon.
I bring out 9. You're still on the JJ McCarthy bandwagon, brother. The Titanic has split. It's vertical. It's
brother. We've been we're 7 games into this guy's career. He didn't play any practice snaps last year. He's been hurt half of this year. Yeah, I'm gonna give him the freaking grace. Sorry about it. But we won't
forget Ward.
Second worst quarterback of all time.
I'm not saying I'm out on Cam Ward either, but I'm just a little bit lower. Like, I've lowered a lot of Cam Ward. It's been the rushing is what really put me down on him, because I thought he would run around a little bit more than he did. And also, I thought the Titans as a whole
quarterback of all time
would be better. So,
second worst.
All right, let's go to the totals, and I'm going to get us started here. I'm going with a team total. I'm going Cleveland Browns over 19.5 points. This is minus 111 at FanDuel against the Titans. This is an insanely low total for this entire game. And I actually thought about going with the over for it. It's 33.5. Steve will touch on that in a second. But for me, and a couple trends that actually would help Steve out with that is 9 of 12 Browns games have hit this total. 7 of 12 Titans games have also hit that total, including 6 straight games for him. I just feel better about Cleveland in this one, because the Titans, they've allowed 11 of 12 teams to cross 19 points. So Cam Ward, he is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. The sack king, Myles Garrett, is going to be going up against him. I think that means bad news. I think that means turnovers. I think that means short fields for sure. Sanders and company. The Titans have also been one of the best matchups for opposing quarterbacks over the past month. They have not picked off a quarterback in the past 4 weeks. So I think Shedeur Sanders should have a decent game after getting his feet a little bit wet yet again. I hope it is Sanders and not Dillon Gabriel. Still, time is to be told on that. The Browns also, more importantly, they're 2-0 ATS when they're a favorite this season. In those games, they have scored 27 points on the Jets, 31 against Miami. And the weather should also not be a factor up there along the shores of Lake Erie. It's a 20% chance of precipitation. And even if it is snowing a little bit, I'm going to trust the guy who's played in snow up there in Boulder to get his team to 20 points. So I love the Browns over 19.5 points. And Steve, you're just on the total for the over of this game.
Yeah, this over is comically low, 33.5 points. That is, if these two teams don't hit this, like, they need to be kicked out of the NFL, because this is a stupid number. It's so unbelievably low for a game that is not anticipated to be in the elements, right? So you mentioned it, and I absolutely agree with you, is that Cam Ward and the Titans, they're good for like 2 or 3 turnovers in this game. I'm sure of it, where it's going to be a super short field. The Browns will score. They'll be up 21-0 before you know it. And Cam Ward, he likes garbage time. He'll sling it around, throw up a few points on garbage time. This game will end 28 to like 10 or 28-14.
Why should come on the team total with me? Come on, baby, let's go.
Listen, I'm fine going 19.5. That's a great number. I didn't see the team total. I try to just play the game because I like to root for the whole thing to happen because I'm an offensive kind of guy.
That's fair. It is very frustrating sometimes when you bet a team total and then the other team starts scoring. You're like, why didn't I just bet the over? I've been there a couple times this year in college for sure.
Yeah. So it's just, when I was coaching football, I'm an offensive guy. I'm an offensive coach. So I like to root for the total points. But this is it's too low. This is an NFL. Mm-hmm. These are 2 NFL teams. This is too low.
Okay. And Steve, 2 more totals quickly for us here. You're going with the Saints, Tampa Bay over 42.5 and the Miami Dolphins versus the Jets over 40.5. So some pretty gross offenses here all the way around. You're not scared though. Not one bit.
No, I'm not. I mean, like, the Jets offense put up a decent number against the Atlanta Falcons, where the Falcons have been a pretty good pass defense this year, and Tyrod Taylor was able to make a couple throws. It seems like Adonai Mitchell is getting his footing in New York, and getting those passes. And it's good to see John Mechie, after everything he went through, able to kind of, come up and make a name for himself again.
That's your dog,
the Miami Dolphins, baby. Defensive part.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Like the Miami Dolphins offense they're going to eat them alive. Like, Devon Achane may run for 200 yards. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is going to be like goofy. These are 2 offenses these are 2 defenses that aren't playing great. The Dolphins shockingly playing better as of late. Weirdly competent on defense, but the Jets look like they're finding some form of a rhythm where they're just saying, Breece Hall, carry us to where you need to carry us to, please. And the weakness of the Miami Dolphins is kind of in their run stopping ability. I believe Breece Hall will have a big game, and then the Jets have no run stopper because they traded Quinnen Williams away. So that's going to open the lane for Devon Achane. I'm not thrilled about the quarterback situation, but I am optimistic of these 2 teams. As far as the New Orleans Saints versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers, these are 2 pretty bad defenses. This is going to be a shootout. Baker Mayfield may be out. Not too worried about it. I'm. You know what? This is a vibes. It's a vibes pick, but there's like backing to it, right? Because Todd Bowles, while we think of him as a defensive-minded guy, he seems to run an offense out there that scores points. Teddy Bridgewater, I'll trust him. I'll trust him if he starts to get to this over 42.5. And I don't trust Tyler Shuck, but he seems to have a little bit of that garbage time in him where this could go over that number. These are 2 teams that aren't playing for a ton right now. It just seems like the seasons are crumbling around them. And that's often where guys are just trying to make a name for themselves and make some money. And there are guys on both of these teams that are currently looking for that next step. Olave wants to take that step. I know Devin Neal wants to prove that he's a starter in this league. There are definitely players that are going to play harder in this, and it is a division game. And I expect the atmosphere and the competitiveness to flow. And we know Baker, right? We know Baker. He's not one to sit out if he doesn't have to. I wouldn't be shocked if he winds up in this game at some point, like playing in this game anyway.
All right, let's go ahead and get to the player props. I'm going to get us started on Thursday Night Football. George Pickens over 77.5 receiving yards, -114 at FanDuel. I like this number specifically because it's 77.5. I've seen it at 78.5, even 79.5 at a couple books. And GP has hit this specific line of 77.5 every game since week 6. So it probably won't because I bet on him. But the Lions right now, they are allowing the 3rd most receiving yards to opposing wide receivers in that span, the most touchdowns over the past month as well. Those have come likely from some big plays from players such as Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, Wan'Dale Robinson. This is also the highest total on the slate, so I want to get invested And boys, I'm 0-6 betting on any Thursday night football action this year. So I have to, like, positive regression. You got to come with me on this one. I'm going GP over there. I'm also going to go with 2 Saints players on their overs as well. Devon Bailey over receiving yards or receptions. Not sure which one, as we haven't seen this being released as of yet. Tuesday night recording this. The Saints should be trailing in this game, though. And over the past month right now, the Bucks are tied for the most receiving yards allowed and the second most receptions allowed to opposing wide receivers. Teams wide receiver 2s in that span are averaging 7.5 targets, 4.5 receptions, 73.5 receiving yards. Vele over the past 2 weeks with Tyler Shuck under center, 7 targets for 37 yards, or 7 targets for 3 for 37, then 8 targets this past week's 93 yards and a touchdown, 17% and 21% target share with Tyler Shuck averaging 40.5 attempts per game. And speaking of Tyler Shuck, fire him up, boys. Over 218.5 passing yards, minus 114. I already laid this. This is my favorite bet of the week. In 4 starts so far, the Louisville Slugger averaging 235 passing yards. He's hit this line in 3 out of 4 starts. And in the last 8 games, quarterbacks have averaged 294.3 passing yards against Tampa Bay. Shuck, in his first taste of regular season action, him and Spencer Rattler against the Bucks, they combined for 264 passing yards, 51 attempts back in week 8. So I'm going with a little dirty dogs on the Saints. Eric, you also have a player prop coming by way, one of the most explosive and consistent wide receivers on all the land, coming in the home of the Chiefs.
Yeah, a player that I said a moment ago that I would be happy to trade 2 first-round picks in Dynasty for, none other than Rashee Rice. There are many things working here. The first is that 62.5 receiving yards is just a misprice. He should not have a number this low anywhere out there. Bet Rivers is giving it to us over at minus 117. Every other book out there is somewhere around 66 or 67.5 yards. So happy to go to the over there. Even with that, right, Rashee Rice is averaging well beyond that, nearly 79 yards receiving per game over his abbreviated 2025 season. But moreover, the matchup that I'm looking to take advantage of is that of slot wide receivers against the Texans. We know that Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter are 2 of the best perimeter corners and arguably the best perimeter tandem of corners in all of the NFL. And so that funnels a lot of activity and target volume to the slot players. And Rashee Rice among wide receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs leads the Chiefs in slot target rate. So he is seeing the vast majority of the work out of the target, out of the slot for the Kansas City Chiefs. That is where you can take advantage of that matchup against Jalen Pitre. And Pitre is allowing a 75% catch rate and just hemorrhaging yards after catch. 110 yards after catch for a slot corner is absolutely insane. Rashee Rice currently number 14 in the league in yards after catch as well. So this one sets up for Rashee Rice. Happy to go over the 62.5. Might be a play that I look to ladder up to close to 100 even.
Okay, interesting. For me, one more player prop, and this is conditional. I need to make sure no DeMercado active. Amari DeMercado, that is. No Trey Benson again. Give me Zonovan Knight. Bam Knight. Wham, bam. Thank you. Over receiving yards for me. BP projections right now putting this line to be released right around that 12.5 mark. I would get on that early if we do not see DeMercado and Benson practicing again this week. Bam has hit this line in 6 of 8 games so far this season. That's a 75% clip, boys. Brissett targeting running backs right now in an 18.7% clip in all his starts this season. And over the past month, the Rams have actually allowed the 3rd most receiving yards to running backs, 51.5 receiving yards per game, and the 4th most receptions, 5.8 per game. Running backs have crossed this mark, 4 of them in that span as well. So I like Bam Knight to continue not only be effective in the receiving game, but hey, this guy's got a little chops out there right now. He's making a miss and looking pretty good out there. So let's go ahead. Let's round out the program with our IBT Media touchdown call contest and calls of the week. And it is, of course, presented by our friends over at Dynasty Decks. What is Dynasty Decks, he asks? Well, maybe one of the only Very, very awesome places out there to make sure that you're celebrating your league and doing it right. If you're a winner, if you're going to have someone win your leagues coming up, why get a trophy when you have to just pass it around, right? Like, it never works. If you're like me, I actually broke our fantasy football trophy on the way to our league draft a couple years ago. We then got a new trophy, and I actually lost the names of the previous winners. So I'm in all types of trouble here, right? I wouldn't be, though, if we actually just use Dynasty decks from the start, where you can engrave it, you can keep it forever. You can also use them for your basketball tournaments, your Madden tournaments, your fantasy NASCAR leagues, whatever you're doing, your golf tournaments. We have everything you need over there at Dynasty Decks. So if you guys want to enter the contest, again, a quick reminder, you can do that by joining the IBT football family. You're going to get access into our memorabilia giveaways. You're also going to get entry into the touchdown call contest, get our full weekly NFL and college football betting cards, and you can join the conversation over there on the Discord. Boys, I got some pretty sweet jerseys over on some Black Friday deals that we're going to be giving away in the new year. So looking forward to that. A lot happening. And on the touchdown call contest front, Trav finally hitting a wall 2 weeks straight. No touchdowns for our boy Trav. He is 19. Rob and James slowly, graciously tracking him down from behind with 18 touchdown calls. Steve, you got 2 last week for your boy RJ Harvey. Holla at him, 16. I got 1 with Christian McCaffrey at 15. Eric, you've caught up to me, but still on the other side of the board, baby, with 15. Trash Sandwiches, 13. Ben Siebert, 13. And a little old Jake Perry. I don't think this guy's hit a touchdown in about 2 months now. So it has been a tough scene in the touchdown call contest for some of us. Pretty great for the other ones, including our friend Steven Lawson. Steve, kick us off. What do you have for the touchdown calls of the week?
Yeah, you know what? It didn't work for me the first time I did this, so I'm going back to the well, though. And Jonathan Taylor, please, I need one of those 3 touchdown games from you. I need to make up ground fast, and no one in the league has been better at doing that for anybody than Jonathan Taylor. Multiple 3 touchdown games. I am all in because I do get 1- bet on these, and this is the second time I'm using JT. So please, brother, help me out.
He didn't get you any your last time you used him too.
Zero last time I bet on him. And then I'm going to bet on the guy that we've mentioned a few times now in the program, and I would also trade 2 first-round picks. Just want to put it out there. Rashee Rice, I do think, is going to have a heavy involvement where Patrick Mahomes may be trying to get the ball out of his hands pretty quick with that Houston Texans front coming at him. And the guy he wants to go to is his screen maven, Rashee Rice. They get real creative with him in the red zone, especially within the 5. He is as likely to get a handoff as anybody else is. He gets those end arounds. He gets those jet sweeps. He gets those screen passes. Rashee Rice will get into the end zone this week. I am confident on it. Plus 125 via BetMGM. I'm all in on Rashee Rice this week.
For me, I'm in on Devon Achane anytime touchdown, -140 at DraftKings. Already laid multiple units down on this. Aside from my Shuck bet, this is probably my favorite one of the week. Achane has scored in 8 of 12 games so far this season, 10 touchdowns total. 3 of those came across 4 divisional games. Achane also 3 for 3 scoring against the Jets since becoming the lead back in 2024. The Jets are tied for allowing the most touchdowns to running backs over the past month with 7. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up Devon Achane. And also give me a little Chris Rodriguez on the anytime touchdown. No line for this right now. And Eric, I saw you trying to steal it for a prop bet. This is not a prop bet. This is a touchdown call. And you can't steal it from me because I am going with Chris Rodriguez. Running backs have scored in 6 straight games against the Vikings, and it's been the thumpers. Zach Charbonnet, Emmanuel Wilson, how about 2? Kyle Monangai, David Montgomery, Kamani Vidal. It's those types of running backs that are profiling, getting in here. C-Rod has scored in 4 of the last 6 games. He's rushed for the 6th most yards inside the 10-yard line in that span, on the 16th most attempts as well. So give me a little Chris Rodriguez once again. And Eric Romoff, who do you have? Touchdown call contest. Can you jump me this week? Can you finally do it? You've been trying to do it all freaking year, man.
I mean, I could jump you to the left side of the graphic if you weren't the one making the graphic. Same thing with your Caleb Johnson love, the only one who ranks him, and he makes his way into the IBT ADP re-rank. But I digress. I think my path to continuing to climb up these rankings is saving some of the heaviest hitters for the stretch run. So I've got some of the most prolific touchdown scorers still in my back pocket. And with that in mind, going with a little bit of a deeper cut, my favorite, at least presuming that when the line posts, RJ Harvey will be drinking a bit of juice, I'm assuming around -125 to score an anytime touchdown. He has the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders are allowing nearly 1.5 rushing touchdowns per game, the third most in the NFL. But also we've seen RJ Harvey can get it done as a pass catcher, and a quick screen is an easy way to counterpunch that pressure coming off the edge from Max Crosby. So like him to find the end zone as my favorite. My underdog is a slight one, and it's trying to take advantage of a narrow window that's opened up. That's Jameson Williams plus 110 over at DraftKings to score an anytime touchdown. Look, Jameson Williams is coming in scoring a touchdown in 5 of his last 7 games. He's got 4 touchdowns since Dan Campbell wrangled away play calling duties from John Morton. Now we're talking about a game that has one of the highest totals in all of the NFL slate this week, and is going to be without Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I like Jameson Williams to find the end zone here in week 14 against the Cowboys.
Who let the dogs out? Who? That song had a hold on our generation growing up. I'll tell you what, folks. That song definitely had a...
I don't know if we've solved that mystery yet. Do we know?
I'm going to guess Kyle Scott left the dogs out. I'm going to guess Kyle Scott.
You know what that song... Y'all know that song isn't about dogs, right?
It's not about loose dogs?
It's about your homies out on the street hanging out? What is it?
No.
What's going on?
It's, you know what, we'll talk about it off air.
Okay. All right. Well,
you have to ask.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will also probably get copyright struck because I sung that so well. First, a question coming in from Shaden Moody 7231. Would you trade a 27 and 26 first for Joe Burrow himself in Dynasty? I'm going to assume this is a super flex here, Shaden. Let us know, too, if you're still with us, if you're in a win now or if you're in a rebuild scenario. I think it's a fair price, though. I really want to hold on to my 2027 picks. I would do whatever I could to trade the 2026 first rounder, maybe a 2027 second, and then also, something else to make up the difference. That's kind of the way I would go about it, but I would be comfortable doing this trade. You guys would too?
Depends on the situation.
I would.
If I'm in a win now window.
Okay. Eric?
If I'm in a win now window,
Yeah, regardless of circumstance, if I am rebuilding or if I am winning now, I think this is a reasonable price. I would obviously prefer it if I was in a contending window, but I think 2 firsts, assuming this is super flex for a player of his caliber, is perfectly fine. I would much rather take the route that you laid out, but if the backstop and the fallback is you just pay the piper, I think this is full freight. This is going rate for Joe Burrow.
Also, don't look now. Hold on to them 2028 first-round picks. Malachi Toney out of Miami. This guy is the real deal. This guy is the real deal. He's setting on the world on fire here.
Eventually, you got to make the picks, right? Dynasty cannot be managed of wait till you see next year's class.
2028, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, Romoff. I'm telling you. Ben in the chat as well saying, thank you, Kyron, even though it should have been 2. Hey, Ben, beggars can't be choosers here, buddy. Come on. Do I need to pull the graphic back up? You finally jumped Jake. Let's be happy with it. Let's not get, all upset that it should have been 2. Because even I'd also like to say this too. Screw James, man, because I had the same 2 people as I had Bijan and Trey McBride in week 13, and neither of them scored. And James had them in week 14. They both scored for him. So I don't even. And I had Tyler Algier in week 13. He scored. All 3 of them scored. What? Oh, that makes me mad.
This is real right side of the graphic energy, Seth. I think you need to update this for next week.
I agree.
Okay, all right. If I am tied with someone, I will put myself on the right side of the graphic. That is what we'll do. So I am with you there because you're right. But that is some BS. Come on, I had 3 touchdown calls last week. Lay my hard American dollars on them, and they don't come through, but then the next week they all 3 hit. What are the chances with that? Just that
Probably
also
pretty high.
yeah, and also I put multiple units on Davante Adams to score a touchdown right before he went on this insane run of touchdowns. So yeah, I'm the cooler apparently. But hey, someone's got to play that role. Someone also has to be the heel of this particular program. You know I like to do both. And if you've rode with us this long, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the entire channel. So much good content coming for you as we round out the 2025 NFL season and the calendar year as a whole. We have fantasy football, NFL betting coverage for you every single week. Some college football betting mixed in there. NASCAR betting still ripping around the track as things heat up for the 2026 season. PGA betting, we'll be back with you on the 19th hole with Jake Perry in 2026. And then entertainment betting nonstop right now on Popcorn Root Beer. Movie reviews, making picks and predictions for box office, Rotten Tomato scores, everything in between, all to help you cash more and to enjoy the ride along the way. Yes, sir. So much good content, including tomorrow, Popcorn Root Beer with Steve, Trash Sandwiches, and Jacob Perry. Also, be sure to check out in-betweenmedia.com. We got some dope written content over there. All the entertainment reviews you need, all the fantasy football, college football betting stuff you need. It's locked and loaded for you. For my friends, Eric Romoff, Steven Lawson, and of course, that dang Yinzer, Kyle Scott. I'm Seth Wilcock. Thanks for watching, and keep it in between. Until next time, folks.